Hey guys, welcome back into Legacy. So I was going to do a video this week on Fabula Ultima, the JRPG, but I'm going to back that up. I'm doing a little more research on the game. I'm still going to do that video, but I want to make sure the video is done right before I jump into it. Second thing, I apologize if this video sounds echoey or anything like that. I have been switching, as I noted in the comment the post. I did switch OSs, so I'm going to have to muck around with OBS and reset some stuff. I got to find out which filters and everything I need to add, make sure things are right. Um, that being said, guys, I will get it back to where I need to be. I promise. Um, and I apologize for video quality, audio quality, if it comes up. I really do. I can't do much about it to stop it right now. That being said, guys, I'm just going to do this video this week on a quick subject that I kind of find intriguing, and I think a lot of people do, because there's a lot of people that like to listen to these to live plays, and I'm going to give you the things that I look for in a live play, how I feel about live plays, and then some things that I find intriguing, and a couple of the live plays that I listen to um, that I find very intriguing, very happy. They send me to a happy place basically, and you can take them, you can leave them. But I think there's things that make live plays very good, and some things that make live plays really bad. And I'm going to go through both of those things. So I'm going to start with a couple of live plays I do listen to. I do listen to Glass Cannon Network quite a bit. Right now, I'm trying to go through their full Giant Slayer Pathfinder 1E. Um, it is an incredible podcast. Um, Troy LaValle and those guys are actually really good. If you've never listened to GCN, most of their stuff's really good. Then you have the Mythcraft podcast, The Ties That Bind. Pretty well done. Uh, Fun group of guys. Not really experienced too much negativity out of that one. They're really fun. They do a lot of they do a very specific podcast, of course, because they're doing just Mythcraft. So if you're interested in checking out Mythcraft, check out the Ties That Bind Mythcraft podcast. You won't be disappointed at all. Those are the two big ones I listen to. Um, I've listened to some other ones on like YouTube. Uh, Honestly, I don't listen to a ton because let's just be fair. A lot of live plays are kind of terrible. And I can say the same thing about my own. Uh, Mine are not always good. Mine are very raw. The audio is raw. Everything else is raw. We have technical issues, all kinds of things that go on with the systems. Um, so let's be fair to them. They're not always the best. We try, but we're amateurs, and I'm a one man operation. Give me 2 seconds. Pardon me. Never mind. That problem resolved itself. My dogs were fighting, so they weren't playing. They were fighting. So I was going to have to break that up. I was going to have to break that up. Lay down, Colby. Sorry about that, guys. Whenever they get in a fight, Colby comes and sees me. But that being said, guys, so what are some things I find that are? I'm going to start with the negative, and then I'm going to go into the positive, and I'm going to give you some advice on how I listen and what I'm looking for as well outside of the good. So the bad things that make a podcast bad. I'm going to start at the top. Professional productions tend not to be good podcasts, in my opinion. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I don't mean having good audio. I don't mean having good video. I don't mean having, you know, experienced people, that kind of stuff. I'm talking about if you have a boom mic operator on staff, your podcast probably sucks because it's no longer a podcast, it's a production. Um, and you're not really playing games, you're creating a TV show. Um, that is a problem. You are showing a very unrealistic version of what tabletop gaming is at that point. Um, Critical Role, of course, being the biggest one of these. There are plenty of them out there, guys. There are other channels, other groups that do professional podcast or professional live play. Um, they're not good. That's my opinion. I think it makes it a terrible podcast. I think it makes it a terrible experience because you're not really experiencing role playing at all. Um, they're they're boring. They're hackney. The players rarely, if ever, face challenges. There's a lot of problems with professionally produced. stuff. Like I said, that doesn't mean that you can't have good, you can't get a digital soundboard and sorry, I'm getting drolled on. Get a digital soundboard and make your sound good and get your gains right and all that kind of stuff and really have a super professional sounding podcast. But the moment you professionalize it and you turn it into a TV show, it stops really being good. I think it starts to lose its flavor. Um, Another thing's really bad is length, guys. I'm gonna say this outright. Um, Nobody really wants to sit down and listen to a 4, 5, 6 hour RPG session. Um, it's really, really, really not a good way to listen. Um, the podcast I listen to, most of them, they're 3 hours or under, most of them. The two big ones I listed, Glass Cannon and Mythcraft, both do around an hour to 2 hours at a time. Um, and they're kind of bite size, so you can listen to them very easily and then move on. Or you can listen to them in long chunks. I've listened to GCN for hours on end at a time. But if I ever feel like I want to quit after an episode, there's no pressure because each episode is about an hour to an hour and a half. Being long is a bad trait. You're going to get a lot of tune out. It's just not. It's not a good trait. I don't know how else to say that. It's a bad trait. It's boring to be stuck listening to the same thing. You can think of it this way: you don't watch a lot of 5 hour movies, 4 hour movies. Same thing is true when watching live plays. You don't want to watch people play RPGs for 5 hours, 4 hours. You don't. 2.5, 3 hours is about the limit that most people are going to have. So when you're talking, what do you look for in a podcast or a live play podcast or a video series? Kind of bite-sized sessions. Doesn't have to be exactly 2 hours or 2.5 hours, but if it can be handled in a relatively like about the same time you would watch a normal movie, an average movie, so 2 to 3 hours would be long, be a little like 2.5, 3 hours would be long. Uh, you're typically okay. You start hitting movies that are the lengths of some of these biblical epics. Your and it's regular. Your podcast episodes are regularly that long. You've hit too far. You've gone too far. That's how it is. You've gone too far. Your podcast should not be 3.5, 4.5 hours of you playing D&D. Even if it's the same session, you can break that up. If you have a 4 hour session, you can break it up into 2 2 hour episodes. I mean, you really can. I'm pretty sure that's what Troy LaValle and them do. I'm pretty sure that's what Mythcraft does. I've seen some other video series that do that. They'll film a whole 5, 6 hour session and then break it up into like 1 hour chunks, 2 hour chunks, so that it's easier to watch. That's a huge one. Like a third sin, I'll say, of podcasting and live play, boring systems. Um, some games just don't translate well to podcasting, do not translate well to people watching them because they're kind of dry systems. I'll give you an example is Fate. Fate is just not a great system in the first place. That's my personal opinion about Fate, so don't lynch me or nothing. But because Fate's not really a great system in the first place, Fate doesn't translate well into live play. It's boring for me, anyways. It's very boring to watch. It's very dry. There's not a lot of dice rolling. There's not a lot of action involved. Um, a podcast has to revolve around a game that flows well. Um, an example of the games I run, yes, we are recording Alternity, we're recording Deadlands. Both of them will, I believe, flow fairly well. And I typically run at most 2 to 2.5 hours at a time. So we get full sessions in. But, if I'm running a game, I'm trying to think of a game. I really don't run a lot of games that aren't very exciting, or don't run a lot of the games I have that are not very exciting. Like I said, Fate's a great example. Uh, I'll give you a good example from my collection. Nobody would want to sit around watching a 3 hour, 4 hour character creation session for Hero. It's just going to be boring. It's going to bore the watcher to tears, or the listener to tears. They're not going to enjoy that. You need to choose something that's exciting, that has a good flow, ebbs and flows. There's lots of action. There's lots of dice rolling. There's lots of character interaction with the story. If you don't have that in your game, you're going to have a bad time, and that's a sign of a bad podcast. So those are three kind of like really good. And there's more. Those are three really big ones. Those are kind of the three biggest sins I think you can hit. The three signs of a really good podcast. The first one I'm going to start with is it feels like your home game. Um, you are listening to people play, and you feel like you could be sitting at the table with those people. Um, GCN is great at that. Authentically, they feel like you could be sitting at the table with them. They seem like awesome people. They're fun. They have a lot of fun around the table. They joke, they cut up. They're good friends in real life, which helps. So they're not like a disparate group of people. They're good friends in real life. So they have a good rapport with each other, all that kind of stuff. But that's a first sign of what you are going to look for when you're looking for a great live play podcast or live play video. Um, the group is working well together and it feels like it's one of your home games, you're going to enjoy it more because you can, like I said, you can see yourself playing in the game. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. I apologize. One more second. And I mute to try to resolve a problem, and it resolves itself. They're, they 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 take to fighting every now and again. Starts as play and turns into a fight. Um, welcome to having two dogs, two big dogs too. But either way, um, yeah. So if that's the first thing I would say is if the podcast itself seems like you could be sitting at the table, you'll enjoy it a lot more than if you don't feel like you could sit at the table. Like if it's a bunch of pretentious people that you just don't like, you're gonna have a bad time. You really will. Second thing you look for, uh, roles competence. Okay, so um, this is mostly a GM thing, but can be a player thing. If the table themselves do not know the rules, do not know the game rules, do not know the actual system they're playing, do not know how to play, the game is going to suck. And the podcast is going to suck because they're constantly referencing the rule books. They're constantly referencing everything. Now, let me make a clear point. There's nothing wrong with needing to look up a rule because some obscure edge case comes up. There is nothing wrong with forgetting a rule and needing to re-reference it. What I'm talking about is consistency. If the group does not consistently know the base mechanics, does not consistently know the rules, um, it's going to be a hard podcast to listen to. It's going to be a hard video to watch. Let me pause that too as well. That does not apply if somebody gets a group together to try a new game. Give them time to learn the rules. I would say 5 to 6 sessions is about right for the majority of a table to start getting a pretty firm grasp on the base mechanics. Um, and then they'll learn the other mechanics as they go along. But 5 to 6 sessions, you should have a pretty good grasp as a group on the base mechanics. So if they're learning a new system, be patient with them. But these rules apply to things that are like established groups playing games they claim to have established themselves, and that second one does. But if rules mastery is a big thing that sticks out to me when I'm listening to podcasts. If the group doesn't know the game, the podcast, the videos are going to be terrible. It's going to be constant referencing, constant editing. There's going to be all kinds of problems with it because the group just doesn't know the game. They don't know how to play. That's a huge thing. And again, GCN and Mythcraft, incredibly well developed. They know the rules. They understand what they're doing. So the game just kind of flows. And that goes into game flow, which is a sin. Another type of sin is that the game flows very poorly. Game flows well and smooth, and it's going to be a lot more fun. Oh, he's tormenting the cat now. And that cat doesn't really say much. He's going to get slapped here in a second. I'm waiting for it. This cat's going to slap him really, really hard in a second. I'm going to have to let it happen, I think. They're playing with each other, so I apologize. I'm giving you running commentary on my life here while I'm doing this video. Apologize, guys. I have to keep my eyes on this so it doesn't turn into a problem. Uh, anyways, the third thing that I would say that I listen to for is that, like I said, is you know you've got a group you feel comfortable like listening to because they feel like they could be your group. The second, of course, like I said, is rules consistency and rules mastery. The third thing that I kind of listen for outside of those things, and I kind of just mentioned, is game flow. Um, how smooth does game run? Great game flow will suck me in and make me want to listen more. If the game is moving, the game is plugging along, the game is actually moving, the dice rolls make sense, the skill checks are resolved, the combats don't take, well, depending on the game system, combats take appropriate amount of time based on the game rules, all that stuff, the game's going to be a lot better. Give me just a second. I got to throw something at the dog. That'll work. That's light enough. Hey, get away. Had to toss a little box at him to get his attention. It's too far away. And he's dumb. Guys, give me a second. Okay, guys, I apologize. I had to correct that. He was biting the cat in the head. I can't have that. Um, Playing's one thing, biting him in the face is another. I'm sure you guys understand. I apologize. This video has been a little disrupted, but yeah, guys. You know, game flow is important. Get yourself in a position where the game flows the way you would want to play it. Like I said, because if it's flowing well, you're going to be able to follow it. You're going to be able to keep up, and you're not going to feel lost. It's not going to constantly bog down, which goes back into Roles Mastery. It ties together Roles Mastery really tight. If the game's flowing well, you're going to enjoy it more than if the game is constantly in pause to look at rules and all that. So those are the three things I look for. I apologize, guys. Jeez, just swallowed something funky there. I don't know what that was all about. Those are the things I look for, anyways. Those are 3 sins, 3 indicators good. So how do I go about looking at podcasts? How do I look for podcasts? Typically, I'm looking for specific games. If I'm looking for, say, Shadowrun 3rd Edition, I type in Shadowrun 3rd Edition live play, and I find groups that look. The term I'm going to use is semi-professional. I look for groups that there is good quality on them, but they're not so professionally polished that they appear to be fake. That's what I'm looking for. I look for games that I'm familiar with so I can follow them. I'm not looking to learn the game through listening to a podcast. I'm looking to just enjoy the podcast and listen to the game because while I'm cleaning or while I'm taking care of the animals or while I'm driving, whatever. So that's what I'm looking for in a podcast. As part of it, another thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for sensibility. This is gonna touch a little bit on social political stuff, but I don't want you guys to think this is what you have to think. I don't want to listen to a podcast where the podcast members get political or social. By social, I mean they start about social issues and stuff. I do not care enough about what other people think about the latest issue in the world when I'm involved in gaming. So that being said, guys, if you're looking for a podcast, that may be something you want to look into. Look into, or when you're listening, really pay attention to what they're talking about as side chatter. It's okay to make political jokes. It's okay to make social issue jokes, whatever. But if the game stalls because people are constantly talking about, transgenderism, gay rights, abortion, voting rights, whatever the du jour is today. And by the way, this does not have to come from the left or the right. It can come from either end. It's probably not going to be worth your time to listen to. It's going to frustrate you. So, guys, know that. Don't listen to podcasts that are focused on that stuff because they're not focused on the game. They're focused more on their own personal issues and personal beliefs. It's just going to make a bad podcast. I really can't tell you enough how much that's a big sticking thing for me. Like I said, I don't mind that everyone's entitled to their beliefs, but I'm not going to listen to you if you're constantly bringing them up. There's a time and a place for you to bring it up. It's not at the game table, and it's certainly not during a live play. I mean, that's just all there is to it. Okay, guys, done with that. I promise. I'm not going to get any deeper into that because you guys know the new rules here is I'm trying to stick free of drama and stuff, but that is a consideration when talking about gaming. when you're talking about having a game and stuff. That is a consideration, unfortunately. But those are the things I do when I look. And I'll tell you, like I said, guys, I found some good podcasts out there. I found some bad ones, found some good ones, I found some people that are worth listening to. I found Americans, I found foreigners, mostly Europeans. But I found some good games to listen to over the years. And if you're really looking for live plays, guys, they're out there. Really, they are. And I really encourage you guys to listen to live plays, especially for games you love. They're a great way to burn, like I said, a couple hours of time. They're a really fun way to burn a couple hours of time. And if the campaign's good, it's worth wasting hundreds of hours on. I think I'm 176 episodes into Giant Slayer, so I'm over 170 hours into Giant Slayer alone. Um, I'm only a couple episodes into Mythcraft, but the Giant Slayer one I'm over 170 hours into. So, guys, it's worth your time. It's worth your hourage if you find a good one. It really can be, because it can be a lot of fun, and podcasts can be a lot of fun in general. And live plays can be a fun way to learn about games, to learn more about games, things maybe you don't know about them, or see situations you've never encountered, things like that. So, I apologize again, guys. I'm hacking a little bit tonight, and again, I apologize, guys, about the animal interruptions. I unfortunately have to keep my eyes on my animals. They tend to be a little rambunctious, especially they choose when I'm doing other things, almost universally. So, but either way, guys, I hope you guys have fun. We do hope to see you guys around the game table. And as always, if you're going to leave a thought, comment, question, concern, follow the 3 rules: no ad hominems, no picking fights, and do not leave me college dissertations. I do not have time for them. Anyways, guys, hopefully you guys do have some fun, and hopefully this video helps you out when looking at live plays.